Welcome back to another episode of the Finding Your Roar podcast. Listen, I am your host, Dion DG McGee, and today I have a special guest that I want to share with you, to introduce you to. I am excited. I've been trying to chase this sister down for quite some time, and every time I call her to do something, she's always booked and busy. But today, she found some time for me on this rainy day, and I'm glad about it, y'all. Okay, so we're not gonna be before you long because we want her to get back to her PJs and everything. Because where we are, it's a little storm out on the ocean. But today, you all, I want to introduce you to someone that is near and dear to my heart. That is none other than the Dr. Sonya Reddick Shaw. Okay. She is the CEO and founder of SR Shaw Enterprises, author, motivational speaker, community engagement consultant, and strategy coach. She has released her book back in 2023. Girl, get moving. Okay? We get ready to unpack that today on all kinds of levels because, girl, we want you to keep moving. And, guys, we want y'all to get to moving too. Okay? 30 plus years of professional experience in leadership, retired from the government agency as director of municipal parks and recreation in North Carolina, assistant professor of North Carolina Central University in the kinesiology and recreation administration. Dr. Shaw is the, hear me, first African-American woman to obtain her doctorate degree in parks and recreation and tourism management from North Carolina State University. And she is, we cannot forget, Dr. Shaw is a life member of the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated and serves locally with the Greater Beta Lambda Sigma Alumni Chapter in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got the GOAT sitting with me today, y'all. So I want to introduce you to my friend, okay? My friend, my homegirl from the Washington, North Carolina. And also, we can't leave out Watts Chapel, Missionary Baptist Church disciple from the left side worshipers. Okay, so here today, I'm bringing you the Dr. Sonya Reddick Shaw. Welcome to the Finding Your Roar podcast, sis.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
You are right. It's been a minute since we've been able to sit down and catch up because guess what? She is just as busy, if not more busy, than I am, y'all. So we're going to tell the truth here. This is the busy one right here. Right. Truth be told.
Listen, we're going to establish this podcast as a place of truth as well. Okay? So we're going to tell the truth. I'm doing a little something, okay? But she found some time, okay, to chat with us today. So I'm excited that you are here. Honestly, she was supposed to be a part of RoarCon 24, but she was booked and busy, okay? Because as you said, she is a professor. And so school was back in session. So I was like, no, we got to bring you on the podcast. Yes. We got to reach the masses. And we got to talk about this book because you and I have talked about it.
Yes, right? We have.
But
yes,
I want to talk about it with the people.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So if you have not read it, you need to read it, okay? We need you to put your questions in, your comments in. Yes. But I need to know what inspired you to even write, because that's not an easy task.
Let's talk about it. Not an easy task to write any book by any means. No. But before I talk about my inspiration, I got to give you some shout outs.
Okay.
Yes, we got to shout out DG McGee because guess what? You have been an inspiration for me writing this book.
Thank you.
You went ahead years before. You went through what you went through, just like most of us as women in the workplace, particularly women of color.
Right.
We go through challenges, but oftentimes we think it's about us and what has happened.
Right.
But on the other side, we see that it was a shift for us to make, as you see, it was a shift for us to go in a different direction, for us to ultimately be where God would have us to be.
Right.
Don't mean it felt good. Don't mean it hit well.
Right. Correct.
But on the other side, at least you can share in some joys and say, you know what, we shifted just a little bit to a new direction. And it's been nothing but a blessing since then.
Absolutely.
So yes, ma'am, you are an inspiration for leading the way.
Well, thank you.
And while we're here, y'all, I'm rocking where she started.
Come on now.
What? Bang and bang.
She has on the Roar Bangle. So
yes.
for all of you that don't know, okay, that don't know, while in that corporate space, on that
Yes.
corporate journey,
Yes.
I needed an outlet.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And a lot of times we do, because we're on this corporate grind, if you
Yes.
will, 60, 70 hours a week in the office, taking your laptop and all the things. And I shared previously in another show that sometimes I just felt like a horrible mom because I was doing all the things
That's right.
to break this glass ceiling.
That's right.
And so when you're in that phase, you're not going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Some things are going to go lacking.
That's right.
And I felt like I was lacking. As a mom and as a wife, and that was not of God or pleasing to
That's
God.
right.
So
That's right.
He reshifted and orchestrated some things, right?
Yes.
But to your point, I appreciate you saying that. But while I was there, my outlet was to reach other women, and it was to motivate, empower, and inspire them. But we did it through product, right?
Exactly.
We taught them how to become entrepreneurs
Yes.
with a product. But when the pandemic came, we decided to close the business because no one's really wearing jewelry at that point, right? So we ended up training about 100 women across the country how to sell the product. And then it turned into teaching, coaching, and training men and women on how to start any type of business, right? And build the foundation right. So thank you for that. I have on my bangle as well.
Yes.
So we're supporting, and the beat goes on, right? But I am thankful for that. But again, the shift took place, and I appreciate your
absolutely, absolutely. You're a leader, so I always want to give folk their props.
I appreciate it.
So let's talk about this book, Girl Get Moving. Your career dreams are waiting on you. I call it the blueprint.
Yes.
The blueprint for women leaders to understand how to maximize mindset, belief systems, and strategies for success in the workplace.
Absolutely.
So I was encouraged to write this book for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One being, when I conducted my research in my PhD program, at the time, I was living my research, but I didn't realize it until years later. So what prompted me to even research my topic, which is based on the book, it's about the career mobility for women in parks recreation.
Right.
At the time, I was not aware that there were so few of us. We see each other at national conferences. We see each other at the local conferences, but when it came to those who were sitting in leadership, there were not a lot of us. So at the time when I did my research, I was one of 16 African-American women Parks and Recreation directors.
Say it one more time.
1 in 16.
Okay.
In these United States.
Oh, come on.
So let's talk about the scale of this and why it's significant, because a lot of people are like, oh, okay, whatever. Well, you think about North Carolina itself.
Right.
North Carolina has 100 counties. Most of those counties have Parks and Recreation departments. So you think about North Carolina has 100. Then you've got some counties like Wake, where we probably got like 10, 12 different Parks and Recreation departments. So you multiply that times 50 states. You got a lot of people that are in Parks and Recreation. The National Association has over 50,000, 60,000 members. But then when we start looking at the women of color who are in that space, there were maybe 300 identified, which we know it's got to be more than that. Because we see more than 300 of us at the conference.
Right.
But then when you start scaling it down and looking at how many are in leadership and how many are, why that's an underrepresented number, it caused me to pause and say, it's got to be something going on here.
Right.
You think about how many people live in the United States, how many members we had in the association, but there were only 16 of us identified as Parks and Recreation Director in the U.S. We were like, something's got to be wrong with that. So going through the research and looking at what were those challenges that women faced in the workplace and how were they able to navigate it? Because you and I both know it's one thing to get the position, but it's a whole nother level to maintain.
Hello?
Yes. So in talking with these women, I started hearing some of the same things that I had been dealing with and some of the same similar stories they had been dealing with, challenges in the workplace, challenges with family life and maintaining that. And I said, you know what, there's a story to be told here. And I wanted to go beyond just my research for my dissertation and actually publish a book that talks not only about the challenges, but some of those strategies that myself and other women use to navigate this thing called leadership in the workspace. So that's one of the main reasons I wrote the book. Of course, there's always one about legacy, and you want to leave something for your children, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, to say, that was my auntie, that was my mom, that was my cousin. That's her book. You know, that's her legacy, and her story's going to live forever.
Forever.
Yes.
No, that's big. I commend you for that. I think I shared with you that I took your book on a cruise
Mhm.
with my family, right? And it was a 10-day cruise. By day 7, I wanted to call it Uber, but that's
Mhm.
another story for another day because I was ready. I was really ready to go. Like I'm one of them people I could do things for a little bit, but then
Right,
I got to
right,
shift to something
right.
else. Like we've been on this boat too long. Like I was really waiting on Jonah to come up so
Yes,
I could just hit. I'm out of
yes,
here, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Every day I would disappear
Mm.
from my family
Mm-hmm.
and get to my book. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had a set time on the cruise ship. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. I gotta
Right.
go read the next chapter because it was one of those where you don't really know a person
Right, right.
until they put pen to paper,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And I
yes.
thought I knew you.
Right,
I
right.
really did. And so,
Everybody.
and I'm reading this. I was like, no way. When did this happen? How did
Right,
this happen? And why do I not know
right.
this
Where was
already?
I at?
Okay. So every day I had my book time. Girl,
Right,
get moving
right.
time. Girl, get. So I'm like, my husband's like, where you going? I said, it's 2 o'clock. I gotta go. So I would find me a quiet space
Uh-huh.
on
Mm-hmm.
the ship, and I would read the next chapter. And some of
Mm-hmm.
those next chapter turn. Okay, well I'm gonna read one more because they're not even looking for me right now, right?
Right.
And I'm like, it's a page turner. It's literally what I'm trying to say to you. But there
Mhm.
were pivotal moments in your life and
Yes.
things that I did not know
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Sonya, right?
Yes.
And I'm trying to figure out how did I miss this?
Right.
I didn't know that
Mhm.
you went through, some challenges. I know you had some health challenges, but
Yes.
let me say to you, you have a story to not only help um, folks really break the glass ceiling, but you have
Mm-hmm.
a story also of triumphancy,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
will. You want to
Yes.
talk about?
Absolutely. And you are right. The one thing that I hear often are people, they'll say, I did not know that
Clueless.
was you.
No
Because
clue.
what is it?
Right.
We show up different.
Right.
We show up and
Right.
people figure like, oh, well, she's got it together.
Yeah.
She's well packaged, but they don't know the journey behind the story.
No.
And why you can sit and throw your hands up Sunday morning and say thank you. And folk like, she prays every Sunday.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. It's a
Right.
must.
Right. Right.
If you know the story.
If you know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I heard a lot in that was not only are you talking about leadership for women, you talk about major, major life changes.
Absolutely.
Being pregnant
Mm-hmm.
at 37 weeks with
Mm-hmm.
my son.
Right.
And at that point, it's like, oh my, what are we doing here? 37 weeks
Mm-hmm.
pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
getting diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right.
And we're like, what are we going to do now?
Exactly.
Well, you know what? We're going to pray. We're going to figure out what we got to do. We're going to get our game plan in place and we're going to move forward.
Right.
But it was a hard pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Because during that time, I was also transitioning to figure out what I wanted to do with my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 15 years in. I worked in every area of parks and recreation possible.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it's like, okay, you need to go in and get your director job and stop playing.
Uh-huh.
But I was comfortable, like most people, not
Mm-hmm.
stuck,
Comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Very comfortable, loving my life at that point,
Mm-hmm.
killed a job 10 plus years ago.
Right.
So at this point,
Right.
you coasting.
Right.
But during that time,
Right.
it gave me an opportunity, to resume build, work in the different areas, and then eventually figure out, okay, you got enough experience, let's go. Because oftentimes as women, we tell ourselves, oh no, I need just one more piece of experience. I need this one more area, and then I'll apply.
Listen.
Where everybody else doesn't even have half of what's on your resume, and they are killing the game.
Okay.
So for me, it was like, okay, you're past time, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But dealing with the breast cancer was one thing. Figured out, eventually got hooked with the right provider, just did an excellent job through my treatment, gone through that. Fast forward, probably after getting back home, having Logan and getting situated, a job post. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, it's a director job in the agency that I'm working for. Mm-hmm. I'm going for it.
Right.
Okay, well, went for it and got through the first interview, and then it was oh no, well, you're not gonna make it to the second round. Okay, thank you, because you told me no, I'm gonna turn this into a yes.
Absolutely.
So we go through, and I was like, okay, then, well, that's their no. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I had also applied for another director position. Mm-hmm. So by the time the first interview, I think they had to go back out or something happened. So by the time they came back with the no, I had already interviewed again and I was ready to shift out.
Right.
So it was the new director might have been there for what, a week, maybe. I'm handing my resignation in. I'm like, I've got a director job. It's been good.
Right.
You know, and he was like, so you're leaving? I absolutely am leaving. Absolutely.
That's the
I'm
roar
going.
factor, y'all. Okay, let me just say it. Okay.
Yes, I'm getting moving.
Right,
I
right.
got to go because
Right.
there's greater waiting on me.
Absolutely.
But I was a little hesitant about doing it because, again, it's new territory.
Mhm.
It's a position I hadn't held.
Mhm.
There were areas of Parks and Rec, even though I'd worked in I don't know how many, there were still some that I needed to learn.
Right.
And taking that leap and taking that step opened up the door for that next director level position.
Mhm.
And after doing that, what you don't learn is when you take a new position, regardless, you're still going to have something you got to learn. There's always on the job training,
Right.
regardless.
We're lifelong learners. That never stops.
Lifelong
Absolutely.
learners. But somewhere along the line, someone told us, oh, you need to know everything before. No,
No.
absolutely not. You can get the job, you can get the same job you're doing, and you're still going to have a learning curve
Absolutely.
because it's a new community that you're serving.
Exactly.
So got through that, and of course that I was like, aha, finally
Mhm.
I'm moving into what I felt like I was called to do.
Right.
Lead a department, help people discover what it is that they want to do, help them get there
Right.
so that they can realize their dreams as well. So I said, okay, I think it's definitely the space I needed to have been in. But then you look back and you're like, I was in that other position. I'd stayed in that particular department 15 years. And you
Wow.
look back and you're like, I probably should have been gone 10 years ago.
Yeah. And Heinz, once you look back at it, it's like, yeah, maybe I should have left. But no, you
Right.
again,
You know
say
what
you're
you know what you
comfortable.
know.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So then it's like, okay, all right, then we got it. But you know, with every piece of learning, nothing goes undone, nothing goes unused when
Right.
you're moving to the next level.
Right.
So we got through the breast cancer, and that was certainly a major one. Got to the next job,
Mhm.
and like, okay, we're gonna do this thing.
Right.
So that, of course, set me up for the next 15 years to be a director
Beautiful.
in Parks and Recreation, be able to help women navigate in that space,
Mhm.
help me move up in that space and understand what it is. But it also left me figuring out, okay, I've got some similar challenges that these women
Mhm.
were dealing with in my research. And it's
Right.
like, how do we navigate this space?
Mhm.
So the book, in essence, basically talks about, what are those challenges that women face? How was it that they were able to navigate through these and be successful in that space? And I call it the blueprint because at the end of the book, it is literally a blueprint.
It is. I have marked up your book.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's a working book.
It is.
It's a working book.
I have my yellow highlighter. Okay, when I would go to my reading time, I have my yellow highlighter and my pen, and I just like underline this, highlight this. Oh, this is so good. Star. So I had all kind of asterisks and everything in the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you said that resonated with me is, why is it that we oftentimes, as leaders,
Mm-hmm.
as our being a lioness,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, we struggle asking for help.
Yes.
And we struggle receiving help,
Yes,
regardless
we
of whether
do.
we ask
Yes,
for it or
we
not.
do.
Because I remember when you said people were coming to assist you and you didn't know how to receive.
I did not.
On this journey of recovering your health, getting back to the true you.
Yes.
And didn't know how to even accept it.
Right. And that's a challenge for us.
Right.
Because typically we are the ones who give the help.
Yeah.
We're always the one helping other people.
Yeah.
But then when it comes back, you're like, I don't know how to accept
you want to do
this.
something for me? I'm the one that's always doing it.
Right. And oftentimes we don't know how to accept the help, and we don't even know how to ask for the help.
Absolutely.
And that's the bigger piece. And my husband always jokes me, we could be in Lowe's, Home Depot, and I am on my app. I'm going to find this corner, this shelf, where it's at. He's like, babe, can you please just ask for help? I still struggle with asking for help.
Right.
But in the workspace that we're in, career-wise, you get to the point where you realize you have given enough help to others, and you deserve to get the help that people are giving you.
Absolutely.
So that's been my way of understanding how to receive that good help.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Y'all get that? That's a good nugget right there. Write that down.
Yes.
How to receive. And I'm in a space now where I am hearing a lot, and I'm processing it.
Yes.
Right. You deserve this. Like, I literally went to breakfast last week with a friend. I invited her to breakfast.
Yes.
And I already told her, come meet me for breakfast. So I'm inviting. I'm covering. We literally had an argument. in the restaurant about who's gonna pay.
Right.
Who's gonna pay for the breakfast? So I
Right.
threatened the waiter. I was like, "Who was here first?
That's right.
I have a relationship with you. I probably knew him for 2 minutes.
Right,
She
right,
just sat
right,
down,
right,
like,
right,
we've been
right.
knowing each other. I got the
Uh-huh.
check. So then she finally looks at me. She's like, "No, will you stop it? I have the check. You deserve it. Let me do."
Yes.
So I threw my hands up. I was
Right.
like, "Okay." When she put the D word in, when she said, "When you deserve it," okay, God, do what you're doing. I
That's
received.
right.
I received
That's
the
right.
breakfast.
That's right.
But a lot of times we struggle because we're nurturers.
That's right. That's right.
And our charge and our innate ability is to do and take care of others.
That's right.
So it's very difficult for folk like you and I to receive
Yes.
from other people. But guess what?
That's
There's a
right.
shift.
There is a shift.
There's a shift because I'm in a season now where I'm asking for what I want,
Yes.
asking for what I need, and I am receiving.
And
okay?
hands
Hello?
wide open.
Okay, yeah,
Hands
I
wide
re-
open
I
to
receive it.
receive.
I receive it.
Absolutely.
So no, and I'm still learning.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's a
get there, but
process.
I'm the one that I feel like I want to help other people. But
Yes.
again, I'm where you are, and I'm walking this thing out
Right.
Daily.
Right.
One of the things that I know to be true is simply the challenge and the charge to write. What was that
Oh
like?
my goodness. Let me tell
Because
you.
when you do this, you got to be real vulnerable.
Very much
And
so.
And listen, I can share. I literally walked past my desk multiple times.
Yes.
My laptop is staring at me.
That's
okay?
right. Right.
And I was like, not today.
Right.
I can't do it today. So I could literally write
Yeah.
on a Monday and just do a serious brain dump, right?
Yes.
Because the problem with it in writing, for all those that are on this authorship journey, already
Yes.
authors, you understand this. When you're writing, your brain does not know that it's not happening. You are regurgitating an experience in your life, and your mind has to go back there in order to write. We're not talking about no ghostwriters. We're talking about
the real deal.
The real deal,
Yes.
raw, uncut. This is my life, and I'm getting ready to share this story with the masses. I don't know
Right.
if I really want to tell this.
Right.
I don't know if I really want to be this vulnerable with strangers.
Basically.
And for people that know me or thought that they knew me, right?
Right.
I can go for hours and write on Monday.
Yeah.
And I can walk right past my computer and it'll be staring at me.
Right.
And I look out and not today, I can't do it today.
Right.
It's too much. I'm
That's
drained,
right.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I can walk past it. And then Friday, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm in mental therapy for myself.
That's right.
Trying to get back
Yes.
to the next chapter.
Yes.
How much do I really want to share?
How much of this?
Talk to us. Like, what was that
much
like?
of
Because
this?
it's hard.
It is very hard because you are going to literally relive those experiences.
Absolutely.
Like you said, every time you
Absolutely.
sit down to the computer to write,
Yeah. it's a
every time
process.
you sit thinking about it, you're like, I'm basically going to share all this information publicly. But you get to a point where you are good with where you are.
That's
You
it.
get to be very comfortable in your own skin. And vulnerability gets to be a little bit more because you know at the end you're going to be blessing somebody else with your story. And I think that was what helped me get through writing, you know, not just the piece about the healthcare scare.
Right.
There's another chapter in it talks about, you know, how I met my husband and that entire process of praying for him before I even knew who he was.
That's good.
You know, and
Another nugget.
and talking about, you know, talking with women about go ahead and start praying for your spouse. Yeah. You don't know what situation they were in.
Right.
And it was, and I tell people, it was years later before I realized, my husband and I were talking and having a conversation. And this was well after we had started dating and we had been married. And he told me about an accident he had. But once I started, you know, going through the book and writing it, and we nailed down the actual time frame, I'm praying for this man. He's sitting in a ditch about to die from a car accident. Same year, we had absolutely no idea this was happening until we put them timetables together. We were like, wait a minute.
Wow.
I was praying for you during that time. And I remember because there were some other things going on in life. So that's how we could connect the dots on it. And I said, I was praying for you before I even knew who you were.
So when you go back, you tell him that I said, you saved his life.
That's right. That's right.
We're not cooking this weekend. You can take the rest of the week. You saved that man's life.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
That is amazing.
Days later, someone sees part of his vehicle sticking out of the ditch.
Are y'all hearing this?
And he had injuries that could have taken him out. But for prayer.
Had you not prayed?
no idea who the man was,
Listen.
but I
Or
said, for my
you wait till
husband,
I see him.
please get him. Get him.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. That is powerful and
Yeah.
profound.
Yeah.
There is a power in prayer. I
Absolutely.
make no qualms about it. I'm a woman of
Absolutely.
faith, as you see.
That's
Our
right.
guest today is a woman of faith. We again are
Yes, we are.
disciples of Watts Chapel
That's
Missionary
right.
Baptist Church. But it's
Biblically
necessary.
based.
Yeah,
Minis-
Christ-centered and ministry
Biblically
focused.
based and ministry focused.
At the end of the day,
Yes.
like the faith walk has to be there.
Oh,
right?
yes. Oh, yes.
And on this track, on this journey from the whole 30 plus years of experience through leadership and
Yes.
you being an inspiration for others in that space, I think it really hits because we're kind of going through it, right? But it really hits when you start looking at the statistics.
Right.
When those numbers don't lie.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So you gave your stats. My stats look like out of 4,000 employees, I was the only African American female sitting in the executive.
One.
And you know, when you in here, like you have the goal that I'm gonna get to this level,
Yes.
and you're not paying attention.
Right.
You're just coasting like I'm
Right.
working on this fast
Focused.
track, focus, right? But I
Yeah.
sat in my office one day. I said, why do I keep going to these sales meetings and conferences and flying all across the country,
Right.
and I don't see anybody?
Right. Why is it just me?
And when that really hit me,
Yes.
oh, I said it's time. It's time for a shift. And to your point in being vulnerable,
Yes.
about writing, I had to take me out of it.
Yes.
You have to take yourself out of it and be vulnerable to realize it's not about you.
Right. Exactly.
It's not even for you.
Right. Right.
And what we've really gone through and experienced was not really for us.
That's right.
We lived it.
Right.
But the experience was to share with other people. And
Absolutely.
once I got
yes.
there,
Yes. Yes.
Once I got there, I was like,
right.
And tearing up my keyboard, and I could really
Yes.
flow because
Yes.
God said, I trusted you with trouble.
That's
I
right.
allowed you to go through what you went through
Right.
so that you
Right.
can share the story.
Exactly. Exactly. And I gave Satan permission
That's it.
to play with you for a minute.
Once you get there,
Once you understand
but
that.
it's not like you sit down and be like, oh, I'm telling everything.
Right.
Like,
No.
I'm not leaving anything out. Right. No, that's not how this works.
No,
So-
it's not.
So for those of you that are thinking about taking this journey to
Yes.
become an author, just know that you're going to have some mental
Yes.
setbacks, right? You're going to have writer's block. You're going to have some mental blocks. You're going to have some spiritual blocks
Yes.
where there are spaces and times where you don't want to share,
That's right.
right?
Right.
But how much purging and cleansing do you really need, okay, to really get to your next?
Right.
So leave no
Right.
stone unturned.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Tell it in a way that it needs to be told. You don't have to tell everything, but tell us what we need to know so that you can be free and clear of whatever it is that you are trying to share. So
Right. Right. And even from that, moving on, when you move beyond that, share what those steps and strategies were that helped you navigate that space.
absolutely.
It's one thing, like you said, tell the story,
Right.
but how were you able to navigate it? Because in the business world, we always hear kind of the glory about where someone's at,
Right.
but we don't always hear how they got there. What were
The
the
challenge.
steps they made?
Yeah.
What were those dark moments that they had,
Right.
and how were they able to bounce back
Yeah.
out of that? Which is why I'm really big on resiliency and why it's important
Absolutely.
for us to understand. Yeah, you're going to face setbacks, but what is it that you're going to do differently
Absolutely.
to get out of that space next go around?
I love it because most oftentimes we see the glory.
And
We
don't
know
that
the story.
story.
We don't know the story,
Not at
and we
all.
don't know the steps
Yes,
that it took to
Yes.
get to the glory.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so, those are the things that we need to
Mhm.
share, and we will be sharing here as we're sharing here today now.
Mhm.
Like that, it's a process.
That's
Like,
right.
This whole thing was painful. It's
Oh, yes.
very difficult to work in a space where there is really no sense of belonging, and
Right.
you still have to come in and smile
That's
every
right.
day. The
Mhm.
code switching and all the
Yes,
politics,
all of
and,
that.
and
All of
still
that.
be expected to do your job exceptionally well.
Yes.
So we can't be mediocre. You got to go
Not at all.
above and beyond what other folks are doing. And my question, even to myself, how long are we gonna play this game?
That's right.
Right?
That's
You
right.
have to ask yourself.
You
that, right?
do.
Yeah. How long can I
Mhm.
sustain this and then that? and putting those numbers together
Yeah.
and thinking about your mental and physical
Right.
wherewithal, that will make you move faster than
Yes.
anything you've ever seen
Absolutely.
alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to get moving, and you're like, okay, I've done this for how long now?
Mm-hmm.
I keep coming back to the same scenario.
Yes.
Just a different face that you're
Absolutely.
dealing with.
Absolutely.
Same
Absolutely.
situation, same outcome.
Yeah.
So at what point do we shift and do something different?
Absolutely. Y'all heard that. Another nugget. At what point do you shift and do something different? How do you, girl, get moving?
Yes.
Find your roar, all the things, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Sonya, tell us.
Yes.
What's next for you? What do you have going on right
now? Oh my
before
goodness.
we leave the people?
Let me tell you. So one thing I did figure out after the book was written is, and you know this just as well, that this is just the tipping point.
Absolutely.
Of your business.
For sure.
You know, and I see books now as the new business card. You think about this is your new business card now. Because it tells your story, and it certainly validates your work and what stories that you're going to share, what strategies and messages that you're going to send. But I found once this book got published, there were several other doors that opened for me. One being the consulting business.
Right.
You know, I started with writing the book. Well, you write your book, people want to know your story, so they want you to come to conferences and speak.
Yes.
So that was immediate one that happened, you know, the conference speaking and traveling and being able to really share the stories and touch people.
Very good.
Like when you're sitting in audiences and the tears start, and you know I'm a tear jerker anyway, so it don't take much, okay?
Right.
But to see women's lives just change and women being motivated to want to do more just by hearing your story, and just for you sharing some strategies and tips, not even all of them, just sharing some for them to just think differently. Because as you started with, it's about that mindset, you know, and making sure you have the right mindset to get ready to move and do things different than you've done in the past. And it all begins with the simple strategy of where your mindset's at.
Very important.
You know, so for me, it was shifting my mindset to being business oriented more so than being the director, community.
That is a shift.
It is a big shift,
right?
Because it's a whole different ball game when you want to make sure your message is clear, it is out in front of the people, and that you are able to really go in those spaces and be impactful,
right?
So what's been next has been the consulting side with community engagement.
Okay.
So after I retired, I worked with a local firm and worked with them learning about the business of what does this consulting piece look like? Because we know what happens in local government,
right?
But it's totally different in the corporate space that you are well familiar with.
Oh yeah.
Understanding the language of the contracts, understanding how to negotiate your contract, understanding what the business charges for your services versus what you're paid as a contractor versus you being your own consultant.
Absolutely.
Very different. When you see those numbers, you're like, I think I can manage to figure out how to get this done myself. You know, so the last 6-8 months or so has been about shifting to do community engagement projects with local governments, and in that space, if there's a public Parks and Rec project, because it's my background, I'm able to take those people skills in, those negotiating skills, those consensus building skills, on top of learning about the consulting business, and create some really good opportunities for community members to come in and share what they want to see in projects.
I love it.
You know, and it's been really rewarding this summer. Work with a project with the city of Raleigh, did some with them, and a couple other municipalities as well.
Okay.
So I've enjoyed that. Next is going to be, of course, continuing to transition into the coaching space.
Yay.
I think that is one that it's going to take a little time, but it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's just a matter of you saying, being consistent, staying on track, doing what you have to do to build that program online and be able to get it ready for the people.
I love it. I love that for you. And I can see the joy in what you're doing, and you're proud and happy to be able to do it. So I love that for you.
It has been great. And as I say, as long as you're blessing other people, the blessing's going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
So I believe that.
Every time.
I believe that.
Every time. Like the blessing of you being here today and making time for me. I called her several times. So, Dr. Sonya Brady, tell the people how they find you, how they connect with you,
you can find me. My website's www.drsonyarshaw.com. Also on Facebook, Girl Get Moving with Dr. Sonya on Facebook and on Instagram. So follow me.
Yes.
And we're going to have some fun along the way and do
Come
some
on
really
now.
cool things.
Yeah, and now you have a group, right? And don't you have a
Yes.
Facebook group? So
I have a whole group of
y'all have to connect with the group of Girl
Yes.
Get Moving, like for
Girl
real.
Get
okay?
Moving with Dr.
I'm in the
Sonya.
group.
Yes.
I'm in the group. So y'all get in there with us, Dr. Sonya. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
gracing us
having
with
me.
Your presence.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
finally got an outside. Y'all, for real. It has been an amazing journey with you all today. At the end of the day, no matter what you do, keep roaring, keep being relentless, optimistic, ambitious, and results driven. It is your host, Dion DG McGee, signing off.